Welcome everyone to another AZ Ray video. Today, we're going to talk about a great film. I just watched it, so we're doing this a little fresh. I hope you get a lot of value from it. It's probably going to be a couple weeks before you guys see this review, but or a couple days or so. But yeah, I just came back from the movie theater with my wife. I saw The Materialists. Celine's song does it again. Past Lives was an amazing film, and this film is also very powerful and captivating as well. One of my favorite things about the film is that it asks a very important question, right? Do you choose who you love? What are the reasons why you're with the person that you're with? What attracted you to them? Was it their smile? Was it their eyes? Was the attraction maybe more physical? A combination of everything. At the same time, they were the whole package to you. Did you guys start off as friends and then became more? Did you guys meet at a dating app and you were surprised that you guys actually hit it off? There's so many different ways that you can meet someone. And the longevity with that person, if you plan on getting married, or if you guys decide to have a long committed relationship because you may not believe in marriage and whatnot, but you guys have this like promise to be together, right? For some people, that's a big, scary commitment. I know I got married and I know I was hesitant to make that step, to ask out my wife, to be engaged, to ask to have a fiance, because it was a scary proposition. Because I felt like I knew I cared about her, I knew I loved her, but I didn't think I had much to offer at the time. All I could offer her is a promise of love and guarantee her that things would be better in the future. And things are much better now. But it's a tricky, crazy promise, right? Because it's an investment. It's almost like a promise of you wanting to like be with someone and to have that future vision, to be with that person and still see who they can become, right? Because they say people don't change, and I don't believe that. I believe that maybe some values are core values, and those are harder to change, but I feel like people change all the time. Sometimes people change individually, some people change as couples, right? And that brings us to the film when we have our different characters. We have our main character played by Dakota Johnson, and we see her shift and change from the beginning of the film towards the end of the film. Before we dive deep, I'll make sure to have timestamps below. In case there is spoilers, I'll make sure to put that in the timestamps in case you guys want to watch at your own courtesy. In case you guys haven't seen it yet, but you're still curious, use a timestamp, watch this however you want to. If you want to come back and watch this after the film, that's completely up to you as well. However you wanted to do this, choose your own journey. So we have Dakota Johnson's character. Her character in the film is Lucy, and she's basically a female Hitch. She's trying to be this ultimate matchmaker, and she's successful numerically. But as the story progresses, we see that she starts to learn that there's more to a relationship than numbers, right? And that sounds pretty easy. That sounds like pretty easy to process and digest that, right? A person could analyze that and see that, yeah, of course, relations aren't numerical, but aren't they? They kind of sort of are, right? Because the film does a great job of making you question and re-examine the idea of like romantic comedies and films and the way probably people even see their relationships, right? There's part of ourselves that maybe we don't care to admit, but there's things that we probably don't say it out loud, but they probably are deal breakers for our partners, right? Does it matter if the person that you're looking for is ambitious? Yeah, I'm sure it matters a little bit. You don't want someone who's lazy. Does it matter if they make a certain amount of money? Unfortunately, it does matter, right? You don't want to marry someone who's potentially homeless or like some kind of backpacker, unless you guys are both backpackers. And I'm not trying to criticize backpackers, but you get my point, right? If you're trying to settle down and start a family, there's there's a picture that you conceive in your mind of how you want things to be. So when people don't fit that quote unquote equation, it makes sense why there's kind of conflict, right? And I think the film does a great job of examining in that, right? You see different candidates saying what they want, right? They say they want the men to be a certain height, certain income, hairline matters, athleticism, things like that, right? And then you hear similar things about men, fitness wise, body type, and then age comes up, right? It's a lot of those things that becomes way more frustrating for women because they have a much shorter window stereotypically to date, right? Which is horrible. It's horrible, right? The film makes a comment about it, about how like if you're like past 30, you're in your 30s, mid 30s, that's like already too far, right? And a lot of different characters, and one in particular states that they don't like the pressure that you deal with when you deal with someone who's older because they want to like basically move forward into the next steps already because of their biological time clock, right? And it's one of those situations which sounds very rude and off-putting because it's like to call everyone that's 30 desperate is like it feels gross, it feels dirty. Maybe a part of it's true, right? Because I agree with that to some extent. That like people that are dating in their 30s, I think their life is a little bit going a little bit faster because you're not kids anymore. You know what you want, right? And if you're financially okay, why would you not want to move forward with the next couple steps, right? So it's tricky. It's tricky, right? And not everybody wants kids and stuff, so it's tricky and it's tricky. And I do apologize if this is coming off rambly, but it's just like I said, I'm doing this review, this deep dive, like fresh from the film, and it just asks very important questions. It's like going back to what I was saying in the beginning of this, like, do you choose who you love, right? Or does the person check certain boxes? Do they fill the criteria that makes them more sense and then puts you in a position to listen, right? And there's probably truth to that. People probably have to check some boxes in your mind before you can even give them a chance, right? Because there's one thing to be like attracted to somebody. There's one thing to be like stimulated by somebody like mentally in the sense of like you have like an engaging conversation and then you kind of feel like some kind of attraction, right? There's maybe some intellectual attraction or you guys have some kind of common interest or they're just funny and you guys just seem to vibe and connect, right? There's so many different ways where you can get some kind of spark, right? But does that equate to love? It's tricky. It doesn't come right away to some extent, right? Some feelings are louder than others. And what I like about this film that is that when it's attempting to answer this question, it doesn't really answer it. It doesn't answer, nor does it try to explain what love is, but it does state that love is kind of like the magic that we see in the world, right? It's that unexplainable, lost, beautiful thing that connects us, right? Which is beautiful and poetic, and I don't argue the point, but kind of leaves me with the same idea, like, is love meant to be explained? Should it be explained? Does it have to be explained? Right? It's one of those different things, right? And another thing that I really appreciated about the film is that it was a very interesting dynamic between Lucy, John, who was played by Chris Evans, and Harry, that was played by Pablo Pascal. Like, it was just an interesting, very mature dynamic. The characters felt very real. They weren't cartoony at all. Some parts of the film were they a little bit cheesy, a little bit generic, yes. But the film thrived in the dialogue. It thrived in various character interactions. You felt real chemistry. You felt real conflict. You felt real emotions, and it pulls you into the film. It makes you feel like a very real world. It doesn't feel very fantastical. It doesn't feel like your stereotypical rom-com that it's gonna work out, right? It almost has a bittersweet ending. And in some ways, it's what makes it honest and it makes it grounded. This is definitely going to be in the spoiler section. So I'll give you a 10-second countdown. Like I told you on the description below, we're going to have timestamps. So definitely skip ahead. So if you want to skip ahead, you can do so in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's get into it. So, this film is a love story, and this film, in many ways, is a fairy tale because the main character, played by Dakota Johnson, Lucy, had the choice of having her knight in shining armor or her prince that saved her, played by Pedro Pascal. She got everything she wanted. She got the material wealth. She got a wealthy man that was gonna explore different parts of the world, right? He checks all the boxes. But there was one box he didn't check, right? Which is the love box, the most important of them all. She realized that it felt forced. She ultimately chooses to end up with Chris Evans' character, as in John, because as much as she wanted to, in her darkest, deepest moments and all the darkest parts of the film, when she gets challenged because of a real raw issue with one of her clients that gets sexually assaulted, Sophie, played by Zoe Winters, it challenges her, it shakes her to her core. And instead of her going to her boyfriend, she goes to Chris Evans' character of John. The heart wants what the heart wants, right? And it's almost like an unstoppable, unescapable thing. And as she moves on and leaves Harry's character, played by Pedro Pascal, who was her boyfriend at the time, she chooses to put this beautiful, rosy life aside and picks kind of chaos, right? And that sounds a little aggressive and extreme, but it's true. Chris Evans' character is chaotic. He's a struggling actor that loves Dakota Johnson's character amazingly from head to toe. He embodies her, he wants her, he longs for her, he's obsessed with her. But financially speaking, he checks none of those boxes, right? And so that's what I mean, that the story ends kind of bittersweet. They're like, yay, they end up together. But then it's like, oh, dang, they end up together. Not that I'm disappointed they did. No, it was beautiful, it was well acted, and it felt very authentic and pure. But then comes the scary part, right? To be able to still be with that partner when things get hard, when things get challenging, and especially whether we like it or not in this day and age, the world's very expensive, and we have various challenges that are just challenges more and more. And it forces people to make harsher decisions when it comes to money, when it comes to careers, when it comes to jobs or jobs, singular, I don't know, plural. It depends, right? Sometimes you're stuck in positions longer than you want to because of how expensive things are, right? And that also, whether we like it or not, does play a toll on the relationship. Although we get the impression that things are going to be on the better side of things, it seems like we think that the characters are in a better spot emotionally and mentally and probably can persevere this time around. It doesn't guarantee it's going to be easy because relationships aren't easy, right? The film even talks about it in one of those different scenes when they like basically are venting their insecurities as they're looking at some other person's wedding because they basically crash it. And they're saying all their deepest insecurities of them like hating each other, fighting, and they even mention cheating, right? So like all their insecurities are worse, like case scenarios are like coming up there, right? Because they might happen. Hopefully they don't happen. Nobody wants those things to happen, but they're being raw, honest, and probably showing their fears. Because love is scary. Love is a leap of faith, right? And to not have that footing and that stable foundation of a solid career can make things more tricky, right? And I'm sorry that I'm harping this point on the money part of it, but the reason why I am, it's because of the title of the film, right? The Materialists. And it's like it says that on purpose, right? And am I arguing that the world is a little bit like Foucault, and like the world's against us and stuff, and that like we can't control our environment is like attacking us? I am kind of saying that a little bit, but I'm a Merleau-Ponty guy. You know, I think that we can that no matter what the universe does about us, we can overcome it, we can overcome. But will it be easy? Heck no, it's not. So to kind of almost break down a little bit deeper of what I'm saying about the outside world affecting us, is that I am aware of the realities and the confines of the world, of the materialist world, right? But I think the beauty of love is that the love kind of seeps through that, right? A connection, a powerful bond will seep through anything that's materialistic, no matter what, because it's a powerful bond that it will only be strengthened, but it's gonna take work. And I like that message of the film because it's very raw and real. Because I don't think the viewers leave this knowing that like, hey, it's gonna be easy. It's like, no, the bleep not. Especially because we know that both characters are potentially in a financially precarious position, right? We have Lucy's character who's might or might not have a job, and we have the struggling actor that's going to try to work more, right? And now it's the scary part. But if they do things correctly and they work on each other and they do the necessary things to grow, to better themselves, to have a good mental stability, to have peace with their demons, to have like an understanding of all their traumas, maybe going into therapy, even seeking couples therapy, making sure they have a strong foundation and they can always battle things that come their way, they're going to be okay. So why do I think the film's called Materialists? Okay. So now that we exit out of the spoiler section again, why do I think the film's called The Materialist? Like I said before, Foucault, a very popular philosopher, he thinks that like how the world is, and the world is always going to be, there's like almost like this institutions that are working against us, right? And that we're almost powerless to it. There's these powerful structures that kind of hold us to it, and like we're almost stuck in a way. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but essentially that we have just like these larger bodies that are just working against us constantly. And I are more and more Merleau-Ponty. While both of those structures exist, we have the outside world and we have us. I think that we can still challenge the outside world, even if the world challenges us, right? So was that too philosophical for you? Did that not make sense? Maybe let me explain it like in a metaphor, right? The world can be one in two ways. Either if you're walking down, let's say, a jungle, right? We know the realities of the jungle, right? Foucault would probably say, if you're in a jungle and you're trying to like make it through, let's say you're in this part of the jungle and you have to get to this other part of the jungle, right? Let's say it's a straight ahead walk. You can see the path, you can see the exit. Oh, I just got to get there. This is where my hotel is. But for some reason, you decide to get your hotel for your vacation in the middle of a jungle. So this part is potentially a little sketchy. Foucault would say that like, hey, you know the risk when you cross there. There's all these potential wild animals that could attack you. I would say Merleau-Ponty says, yes, all those things exist, but if you're prepared and aware enough, you can get through it. Hopefully that made a little more sense. That you can get through anything, but there is going to be realistic challenges. I think that's the big challenge of love. It is materialist. Not because love wants to be, but because we are people in this world, in this materialistic world, and we're just trying to survive, and love can be tricky. The film also presents the caveman metaphor, that in its simplest terms, when people were trying to fight for survival in that quote unquote jungle and that wilderness that they were in, they're trying to survive, right? And there was some kind of business agreement. but there was also ultimately love, right? So how people interpret that love story, I think it's completely up to the person, right? Some people might see relationships as a business agreement. Other people might see it like, oh, it's an exchange of commonalities, and hey, we kind of make sense together, right? And other people might just believe love and love is all that matters and all those kind of things, right? But the truth of the matter is that love is an important ingredient in the relationship, but I don't think it's the only ingredient in the relationship. I think the most important thing about love is having two people willing to love and two people willing to fight for their love. I think that's the biggest thing. And you have the materialistic world that's always going to challenge you. And it's not always going to be money. Sometimes it's emotions. Sometimes it's temptation. Sometimes it's depression. Sometimes it's life itself. Sometimes it's family members, friends, loneliness, depression, trauma. It can be so many different things that can pull you down. But if you're willing to fight for your love, I think that's the ultimate metaphor of the cavemen, because they're literally fighting for their lives, but they're also fighting for their love, which is very important. Now comes to my review. As far as the rating to this film, I deeply enjoyed it. It was very entertaining. The only thing that's holding me back to give it a higher scale is that I think some parts of it were a little bit cheesy. The delivery of it felt a little bit off, but once the film started going, it kind of like got better. So it kind of cleaned up. I just felt like the intro was a little rough, was a little bumpy, but it was still enjoyable. I still recommend it. I would give this film a 7.9. Super close of getting in at 8, but I just can't. There's just parts of it that were just a little bit messy, a little bit clunky. That could have get cleaned up a little bit. The strongest parts of it were just the intimate interactions with the characters. I also respect the fact that they talked about the heavy, real issue of sexual assault that happens in dating. I think it's very important that the director talked about this, and I think it's a real thing. And I'm happy that that it was an issue that was presented to the film, because this kind of stuff needs to be talked about more, because yeah, it's just the awareness is very important and it's very healthy and it's very healing. So I'm so happy that it's out there. So yeah, guys, that's the end of this video. Hopefully you got a lot of value from it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Tell me your thoughts on the film. If there's anything you want me to talk about, remember guys, this channel is for you. I'm open to deep dive about anything. Go ahead and like the video. Follow the YouTube channel. I also have a community/posts tab where you can also leave your comments and feedbacks of different topics you want to talk about. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. This has been your examination from A to Z. Take it easy, guys.